Okay, graphics. Hello, my name's Evan Cinesac. I'm recording a short demo for my Info 6020 Graphics Project 1. Main purpose of this project is to practice and implement the off-screen buffer in FBO, as well as experiment and apply different 2D and lighting effects on the scene. I had a couple issues with the FBO. I think I've mostly got them figured out. One issue I could not solve. Actually, it's not even that I couldn't solve it, because I had it, and I can't figure out how to get back to it. I can't figure out how to move the quad. Like for part of this, we're supposed to use the off-screen texture within the scene, where the texture is taken from a different camera angle, and then like have a security monitor or something, and we have the off-screen texture there. I couldn't figure out how to do it. I had it. I remember when doing follow-along stuff, at one point we had the physical camera moving around the screen, and the quad was there in front of us, not filling the screen. It was an object that we could move around and look at. Could not figure out how to get back to that point, to like draw other stuff in the scene and have it there. So I ran out of time, so I gave up on it. So I am just using the off-screen texture to do the full screen second pass. So the screen's rendered to the off-screen texture and then copied back onto the full screen quad right in front of the camera. I think I'm using more than one off-screen texture. I'm not. I'll get into it when I get into the effects. I'm not certain if it'll count towards that or not. But if it doesn't count for the more than one, then I think it'll count for the interesting way multiple textures combined as a mask idea. I don't know. I'll get into it when I go over the effects. So really, the only thing I have to go through is the main controls and how I handled stuff in the Fragment shader. So I'll go through main first. Not much has changed. I basically had to update my code to the point that we're at in the I Love OpenGL stuff, minus the threading. I'm not doing the threading yet. I finally figured out why my torches were not working well. Turns out you're only supposed to call srand once at the beginning of the program, not every time you're about to use rand. Oops. My bad. So now they flicker nice. That's good. So these were the meshes I was going to try to add to like do security monitor thing. Everything I tried didn't work. Just it wouldn't draw them, and it wouldn't draw the quad where I wanted it to. So the models are there. They're not being drawn. If we do get an extension and it doesn't interfere with the 3 other projects I have due coming up, maybe I'll try to implement it, but for now this is what I'm submitting. So for the reflection and or refraction, I went back to my old actually it should probably be being done, whatever. How I'm doing it works. That's all that matters. So I had a texture operator thing, so it in my fragment shader, it checks this texture operator, and depending on what the texture operator is, it applies the textures in a different way. If it was 0, it would add. If it was 1, it would subtract. 2, multiply. 3, divide. 4 was for the normal mapping and the light texture AO map. So now I've added, so 1, 2, 3 are gone. 0, 1, 2, 3 are gone. We just add the textures. 4 still does the DFK Dark Fantasy Kit, normal and AO map stuff. I figured out how to do it in the lighting pass as well as the first pass without affecting things too much. But I added a 5 and 6 for the reflection and refraction. So the models themselves aren't that important. It is that I'm just here to say that when we're in the program, the one at positive X, so the one on the left, will be the reflection, and the one on the right will be the refraction. I did not end up doing the dynamic, although it looks very interesting, and I would like to eventually. This, I'm pretty sure I'm not using this because I figured out how to actually do it. So I can remove that. Texture stuff. Load all the textures. Scope and window. Cube map. Skybox. Everything. Set up the FBO. Just the way we do it in class. My initial window is 1200 by 640, so that's how I start it. All this stuff. Grab the int for the render pass. For first pass it the G buffer. For the texture stuff. Basically all the stuff that we did in class. Skybox. Sorting by alpha transparency. Draw the models. So this is fairly important. I figured out that the main cause of the random black squares that we're getting in the I Love OpenGL code is because the FBO resolution is different than the window resolution. So I have a button that no matter what the window size is, you press that button and it'll change the FBO resolution so that it matches the window size. This was my... I don't think I actually need any of this. Because this was how I was attempting... Yeah, this was just how I was attempting to do the mask. Figured out how to actually do it. Lighting pass. Set up the quad. Put it in the same spot. Screen width, the height. Set all the texture, color, and everything. Draw it. And then do the 2D effect pass, where we just draw the quad again with whatever effects that we're applying. In the case of 2 of my effects, I am making sure that I am binding this texture or these textures, and then in the fragment shader we do different things to them. And again, like I was trying. Like I could, maybe I'll try it again, but I could not get the quad to just be drawn where I wanted it to as a quad with the FBO on top of it. Anyways, do all this stuff, draw it, and then pass, and then yeah, that's basically it for main. Controls. I'll go over everything again when I'm in it, but when I'm running the program, but pressing M will change every model to a wireframe. Pressing B will trigger the draw debug objects. Pressing keypad 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 will change the FBO resolution. 1 changes it to 1920 by 1080. 2 changes it to 127 by 64. 3 is 1280 by 1024. 4 is 3840 by 2160. 5 is 1200 by 640, and 6 is 1900 by 1012. 5 is my initial window size. Pressing P will run that update resolution in the main. Pressing space, again, this was just trying some stuff. Basically, pressing space will just set the camera position for the initial drawing of the scene. But then I can't move the camera around, so it doesn't matter. But I left it in. And then pressing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 0, not on the keypad, on the keyboard, will activate the different 2D effects that I've implemented. So that's basically it. Visual Studios has a, I think, pretty decent OpenGL or GLSL thing. I forget. Was it under extensions or? Anyways. Main changes to Fragment shader. Well, I guess we'll start with the 2D effect pass. So if we're doing the 2D effect pass, we grab our UV lookup from the fragment coordinate and the screen width and height. And then I make our Vec3 sample color. And I found for some of the kernels, we need these offsets. I could actually probably just make this once outside the main. Anyways, it's in here. I made offset outside the main. Where did I make offset? Where is offset? 1 by 300 is the offset. So basically the offset is a 9 by 9. Think of it as a box where you're grabbing the different pixels from around the current pixel, where what would that be? 4? 1, 2, 3. 0, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. 4 is the center and the main pixel that's being drawn. So when you press 1, I found a lot of these off of the Learn OpenGL site on their frame buffer stuff. They have, where are they? A bunch of post-processing effects. So inversion, grayscale, and then a couple kernel effects, sharpen, the blur, edge detection. And really all that these do is they have different kernels that affect how... Apologies, notice that the upload finished, so I just want to hit submit on that. Basically, the way that the kernel effects work is they use the offset and some kernel to affect how the pixels look. So, inversion is pretty simple. Rather than take the color, you just do 1 minus the color. Grayscale, you just average out the color and use that average for the color. And then the sharpen, blur, and edge detection kernels, I just copied the kernels over. So the sharpen, the kernel for it is these 9 numbers with a 9 in the center. And you basically make a bunch of vector 3s using this array where in each spot you just use the texture of the light and then do the UV lookup plus the offset. So it'll start top left and then move around. And then add each color from each pixel and multiply it by the kernel value. And then that is our vector 3. So then the blur, this is the kernel for it, do the exact same thing. Edge sharpen, different kernel, do the exact same thing. This is the one I was trying to do scope overlay. Eventually gave up because it was 3 a.m. and I need to go to bed. But I just made a random kernel. I just tried 2 in each corner, and then I experimented with the middle number. Kind of makes a weird rainbow edge with everything else black. So it's basically the edge sharpen on steroids. And then today I figured out, this one is a red filter over everything, double the red value and halve the green and blue values. And then today when I sat down to start recording, I decided to try this just a little bit more, and I realized I was just being really dumb last night. So basically, for the scope overlay, I take the texture of the scope, figure out the average, and I had to just experiment with this number a little bit. I found 0.3 to work pretty good. If the average is greater than 0.3 of the scope, then I want to draw the scene pixel. Otherwise, I want to draw the scope pixel. And then 9 is just a real simple overlay filter that just takes this other texture at 0.25 and adds the colors to the scene texture, and then 0 resets it, where it just takes the texture light pass color buffer and then sends it to the output. And then in lighting pass, I basically recopied all this stuff over. Could have put most of this outside, but this is all to get to the normal that uses the DFK normal map texture, and then uses that normal to calculate the light instead of the vertex normal. And then Skybox stayed the same. Imposter is the same. Discard. I don't actually need this anymore. Well, if this breaks, I know what to recomment or uncomment. And here in the whole object diffuse, texture operator is 4. Use the texture. And then the reflect and refract, I again got from Learn OpenGL. Good, that's submitted properly. Been having issues with that. Here under the environment mapping, just the reflect grabs this stuff, and refract does it similarly, but uses a ratio as well. OpenGL having a lot of stuff built into it is very nice. Otherwise, just add all 4 textures multiplied by the ratio. This was my huge, massive operator if statement. I really need to clean this up. I am so sorry for the mess. And then just at the end, just set all the outputs. Yeah, I think that's good. Let's run it. I'll start with the FBO stuff. Actually, I'll start with the stuff that isn't as important. So real quick, once it's done, okay, camera, move the mouse, WASD, Q and E, as always. Left is reflection, and that is an FBO issue that I cannot solve. Getting too close to it makes it go all pixely. Hooray. But then getting closer doesn't, and then getting too close again. Yeah, so this one is the reflect. If I can get it to show nice. It's kind of warped because of the shape of the beaker. And then the other one is the refract. You can kind of see the, what is that? I think that's part of the building, maybe the sun thing. And then you can see the refraction of the stars and the reflection of the stars. And then as they switch back, you can see the buildings and stuff a bit better. Underneath on the reflection, the ground. Is my ceiling and floor mixed up? Anyways, the floor is supposed to be more watery and the sky is supposed to be more sky. So the reflection being more blue when it's brighter makes sense, and that one being darker and more of that makes sense. You can even see a bit of the bottom reflection under there. And both are blue on top for some reason. Not 100% certain. So yeah, as I mentioned, part of what is causing that distortion, square, flickering stuff. Oh, right. I want to look at my torches actually flicker. And you can see the light behind. It's awesome. It's just the... Huh. The weird pixely stuff is only on the stuff that... I know this was having issues earlier. Oh, I added a new texture. Or new model. Maybe that's why. Anyways, I think it's the ones with the alpha transparency that are doing that. and the floor a bit, but the floor has always had issues. Pressing space sets the angle. Space again goes back to camera control. B, normals. M, wireframe. Nothing too important. FBO, as I mentioned, I believe most of the weird black square issues are because of the FBO resolution. If I press 1, the bottom left square of the FBO is okay. Bit of mess up, but then on the right, that's very messed up, and on the top half, that's not very good. Pressing 2, everything is freaking massive. Can't see anything. 3, bit stretched out, bit more messy flickering. 4 is very high quality, but you can see in the very bottom left that there is little to no mess up on the black squares, but then each other version of it gets worse and worse. The second and third one on the bottom have a black line that gets longer, and then each row above that, the black just gets worse and worse. 5 is very close to the initial resolution, which is why there's no flickering unless I get too close to specific objects. And 6, I don't actually remember, but there's a bit of mess up even on the bottom left. 7, 8, 9, and this is all on the keypad. But if I press P, it sets the resolution to exactly what the frame size is. So if I were to grab this and stretch it out, all of a sudden, huge disgusting mess. If I press P, it resets the FBO size and everything looks pretty good. If I make it full screen real quick, again, super gross, super ugly. 1, it's close, but not quite there. 2, way too small. 3, good lord. 5, bottom left is okay. The rest are pretty bad. 5 is the initial resolution. That looks awful. 6 is the highest resolution I have, but that's not okay. P sets the resolution to the exact size. And now my 2D effect passes. If I press 1, not on the keypad, this is keyboard 1, everything gets inverted. All the light colors, all the models, everything just gets straight inverted. 1 minus. Skybox looks pretty awesome too. 2 is the grayscale. Now everything's just kind of muted and gray. 3 is sharpen. Get that nice deep fry effect. This personally hurts my head, so 4 is the blur. Just kind of blurs everything, mixes it with its nearby pixels. 5 is the edge detection. So all the edges are bright and white or near white, and everything else gets grayed out. 6 is the rainbow edges, the kernel that I just put a bunch of random numbers in. So the edges are kind of rainbow on steroids, and everything else goes near black. Even like you can see it on the edge of the screen, even like that's just on the screen. 7, red filter. Like I said, just kind of doubles the red of everything and halves everything else. Also hurts my eyes. 8 is the texture mask overlay thing. So wherever on the scope texture it is black, it uses the black, and everywhere else the gray and white, which I should have. So here's my scope image that I found online. So all the edges are black, and then on the inside, the numbers and lines are all black, but then everything else is gray or white gray. So I found that point 1 was straight up erasing the numbers and stuff. So I tried point 2, I tried point 3. Point 4, there was a lot of weird gross gray, but point 3 looks pretty okay. Bang, bang, bang. And then 9, I have this nice Mosaic Window, and I'm just putting it over the screen and adding the texture to it. Actually, that I never experimented with that with the other resolutions. So that's actually kind of interesting. The texture itself stays the same size, but the quality and what you can see behind the texture, behind the window, changes depending on what the FBO resolution is. That's kind of neat. I didn't try that before. And of course, you can do all of this from the static. Position. P to reset. 0 clears any effect, so 1 0 2 0 3 0 4 0 5 0 6 0 7 0 8 0 9 0. Yeah, I think that about covers everything. So yeah, I'm not sure how you would count this, because I'm doing it during the second or during the third off-screen texture pass. So for the scope, I'm getting the scope color and then either using the scene texture or the scope texture depending on what that average is. And then for the window, I'm just adding the window to the other. So I don't know if you're going to count that. I would assume that counts towards the mask since I'm combining the textures. And the screen is being rendered to the quad right in front of the camera. And then I have some trivial changes, and I have the blur and I never actually I don't know. I kind of took the combining multiple textures and the mask as kind of the same thing, so I don't know how you're gonna consider those. But yeah, I don't know. Like I literally had the quad as an object in front of the camera that I could move around while doing follow along, and then I cannot for the life of me get back to that state. So I don't know. I'm gonna need some help with that. And if it's part of the exam, I am just gonna hit my head against the wall. Thank you for watching. I'm gonna clean this up, write the README, and submit it. Have a good day. Bye.